Thank you, Amy. As Amy said, I'm Justin. I'm from Arizona. I'm the surveillance manager here for the Arizona Birth Defects Monitoring Program. I just want to say from all of us on the Birth Defects Awareness Month Toolkit work group, we're all very excited to announce the next iteration of our January Awareness Month campaign. We have officially shifted the language for this campaign, and it was prompted by our CDC partners. You'll notice that instead of Prevention Month, we're calling it Awareness Month now. Awareness and prevention go hand in hand, though some members have shared with us before that prevention sometimes carries a negative connotation. So making this shift kind of allows for discussion beyond prevention, and importantly, because following all of the prevention tips that we do have in the toolkit, it's not always a guarantee to be birth defects free or whatever. With the more inclusive language, we're also hoping to reduce some of the stigmas, and it will also hopefully allow us to link to our partners that address more of the life course perspectives for caregivers and those living with birth defects. Next slide, please. So with the new name, we also have a new webpage and a new theme. It is Healthy Communities, Healthy Babies. There's a screenshot of what the website hopefully will look like once it's actually finished and live. The 5 prevention tips will have mostly stayed the same as tips in the past, though we did make additional tweaks to the language to continue our efforts in stigma reduction. You will still be able to download the content, all the content in one PDF if you want to. That is where the blue background 5 prevention tips for healthy communities and healthy babies, you'll be able to click on that to download the whole PDF. But we'll also have each individual tip as a separate PDF to download by clicking on the image below, if you choose to focus on one specific topic instead of multiple. On the new website, you'll be able to click through each of the 5 tips and the proclamation and the sample newsletter. And if it's all working right, I really hope that there's going to be a really short preview of, like an abridged version of what's in the PDF content right next to that white space right there. All of the image variations that we have, there are a good number of them. They will also be available for download somewhere on this website too. A special note, I would like to say the proclamation is finalized. We should be sending out a link to that because it might be prudent to check with your governor's offices to see what the timeframes are if you are planning to have a proclamation ready to go in January. So as part of the tweaks in the language, our new theme also begins to shift some of the focus from individual action to include aspects of the community that are extremely valuable to individual success. While each of our 5 tips mostly seem straightforward, when we think of the social determinants of health and consider what kinds of barriers exist that prevent people from achieving each tip, then we kind of realize there are more ways that we can improve upon the information that we're providing during the Awareness Month campaign. So tip 2, for example, asks individuals to book a visit with their healthcare providers, but what if you don't already have one? It's hard enough to find or decide on who your PCP should be if you have insurance. Where do you start if you don't have insurance? Next slide, please. So our initial attempt to address these gaps is to introduce this new resource. It's to collect a bunch of local community resources into this map that will be embedded on our website. I think you just scroll down a little bit if all is working correctly. This is the quick reference. There are 3 areas I would like to direct your attention to. Is that all of the pins can be clicked on, and when you do, it will provide additional information and a link to that local community resource. In the top left corner, there is a small little box with an arrow in a white space. When you click on that, it will open up a menu with a full list of the resources, and it's organized by tip and the associated pin color. So each of the 5 tips has its own pin color. And to see a larger version of the map, which is probably more recommended, at the top right section of that map, you'll see like a enlarge icon. That will take you directly to the Google My Maps. And when that's opened up, if we hit advance real quick, this is the view that you'll see, and it's a little bit easier to navigate. One special note is that not all of the pins are actually physical locations. Some of them are to state websites, state health department websites, 211 resources, or other like online sign up web form type things that are very important resources to use. Okay, next slide, please. So what kind of resources are we looking for the map? We really need your help to fill this map in more comprehensively. And these days, a map's main purpose is to have pin locations so anybody can quickly gauge their proximity to said resource, right? And as part of the toolkit work group, we really struggled with this process because a lot of the links that we provided were for online resources that only contained textual information and not really specific to how to access this resource or care. And while those links to like health department immunization websites are very important to include, a normal person who's looking to get immunized is not likely to get a vaccination at their local public health admin office, right? So how would we even pin that type of web page onto the map? Hit next, please. So not all resources are created equal. We are hoping that all the pinned locations keep in mind that we do have an end user target audience that we're trying to reach. And that is people who are planning to get pregnant or currently are, and they're also trying to follow our 5 prevention tips. So all the pins on the map should be specific to local communities. They should live on how to access the resource, and have appointment schedulers, web forms, whatever else, and contain the physical address of where the resource is. Next slide, please. So just an example of some Arizona resources. That first link right there is the state health department link that I think most of us would actually send to most people, right? But when you click on that page, it ends up taking you to a really general informational page that is sometimes a lot to read through, and you have to, scan a lot to find link number 2, which is actually the vaccination campaign. And then from there, you have to go to link number 3, which includes a list of places and other programs that you can actually go to. Finally, you hit link 4, which contains all of the actual information, an address, additional forms, everything that a regular person would need to go and access that resource. I threw link 5 up there because from link 4, you have that sign up calendar that has appointment slots directly on there, which is really nice. And so on the map, I have tagged that specific immunization clinic for Arizona. Next slide, please. So we definitely need more help to fill out this map more comprehensively. If you go look at the map once it's live, you'll be able to see that there are a bunch of resources tagged already for folic acid. Every state, almost every state, has at least one pharmacy that is participating in a free vitamins distribution program. It is really overwhelming and a tedious process to sift through a bunch of specific locations, especially without some kind of idea of proximity to an individual's life or work or home. But I'm hoping that as members of our own respective communities, we at least have some ideas of what parts of town might have more traffic, where is more accessible, that kind of stuff. So hopefully we can come up with a much more comprehensive list to completely fill out the map. We're also asking and hoping that members of the general public will follow along and engage in our social media platforms and suggest their own resources that they've used to access some of these, to achieve some of these tips. There are a couple of examples here of things that I pulled into Arizona's map section. You're free to click on those. Sorry. You're free to click on those as they relate to each tip. Next slide, please. So as part of the shift in the language and our naming convention, it does allow us to more easily link to our partner organizations' work. So for CDC this next year in January, this is a list of some of the topics that they're planning to focus on for their digital toolkit during Birth Defects Awareness Month. That's all I have for the update for today. Thank you so much, everyone.